fastest show in sports.
Greetings, true believers, and welcome back into the fastest show in sports. I am your host and your ringmaster, Ed Berliner. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we got a long way to go and a short time to get there because it has been a busy week. We begin in Major League Baseball. The New York Yankees are no longer in the World Series chase. They lose to Toronto in the playoffs. Undoubtedly a better team. Yankees fans are going to hate to hear me say that out loud. But if you look at what went on, if you look at those games themselves, the Toronto Blue Jays were the better team, are the better team. There's just no doubt about it. Give them their chops. However, when it comes to Yankees fans, and that's why we discuss and lead off the show with this, Yankees fans are a very special breed because they believe it is their birthright every single year to contend for the World Series. In actuality, this is not true. This is old school. It's old hat. It's ancient history and something that Yankees fans need to look beyond. I mean, look, everybody hates, at least it sure seems that way, that most Yankees fans universally hate Aaron Boone. You hate a guy who's been there 8 seasons, and he's put you in the playoffs 7 times. Now, granted, there's one World Series, and they lost that World Series to the LA Dodgers, but still, this man is universally hated by Yankees fans all season long. And we've talked about it, where Yankee fans want Aaron Boone fired immediately. Every single thing that happens is Aaron Boone's fault. It's not the player's fault. It's got to be his fault. Everybody knows that. But I got to tell you something. In defeat, rarely do you see somebody at this level with this much class.
The ending's the worst, right? Especially when you know you have a really good group and a group of guys that really came together so well, at the right time. The final couple of months, this was a team, and it's a team that played for one another, did a lot of really good things, and we got beat here. Credit to the Blue Jays and the year they've had, and they beat us this series. Simple as that. And it doesn't make it any easier. It's a beat up room in there. They're still sharing with one another. I felt like I should come out and owe you guys this, but know that the guys are in there still sharing with one another because they truly became a really close team and a really good team. And it's the awful part of this is the journey you go on and this has been a tough year for me personally, but all you go through to kind of become this kind of team you think can really do something special, and for it to abruptly end is always difficult. And you just, it's a beautiful game that so many of us and you guys here and, certainly within our organization, every organization you pour so much into to go on this long journey, to have a chance to chase a dream and win a championship. And when it ends this way, it's always, it's terrible. It hurts. But I know for me personally, I know for a lot of those guys, it also continues to ignite your fire to want to get back and play in these meaningful games and have a chance at glory. So I thank you guys that cover us all the time and are here. And again, I want to congratulate the Blue Jays and their organization. They've had a terrific year and have built an outstanding team. And credit to John and those guys. They took it to us this series.
Hey, I tell you what, if you really still want to hate Aaron Boone, go right ahead. I mean, you can do that any time you want, but that's a class act. In light of what we see from a lot of players and a lot of managers, this is a guy who sat there emotionally drained, knew exactly what was before him, and was not afraid to say that they were just the better team. Look, they were the better team. What has been really interesting, though, is listening to the sycophants, the people who used to be in New York, those who have the Yankees in their blood, actually answer to a lot of this. I have never thought in my life that I would ever agree with anything Alex Rodriguez said. A-Rod is one of the biggest frauds, one of the biggest cheats, one of the biggest liars in current Major League Baseball lore. He is the guy who lied through his teeth numerous times about steroids and performance-enhancing drugs. Yet he's welcomed back into baseball because, hey, he's A-Rod. He's still a cheat. He's still a fraud. But when it comes to his conversation about Aaron Boone, I'm shocked. I agree with him 100%.
Aaron's been very classy. We've all been very consistent with that. Honestly, from the entire organization, he's the one guy with Circle that has least to blame. I mean, he's got a lot of talent, but for me personally, one of the worst construction of a roster I've ever seen. You have 3 left-handed catchers, you have 5 DHs, you have a first baseman in and out. It's just a very, very difficult hand for Boone, and honestly, they were exposed against a much better Jays team.
A-Rod's a liar and a cheat, but I have to tell you, when he's looking at Major League Baseball and he's looking at the intricate makeup of this franchise, he's right. And that's shocking that I've actually agreed with him. But you can hear him there alluding to Brian Cashman, alluding to the way this team was built. Let's be honest, and we'll get into this in a couple of minutes here. Aaron Boone is the manager. He cannot make guys do things. He can put them in the right places to do things. He can give them the right opportunities, but he can't make them perform. The players still have to do that. And when it comes to the front office, it's interesting to hear not just A-Rod, but one of the most respected voices in current New York Yankees history, Derek Jeter. And if you listen closely, you can hear Jeter basically saying the same thing.
Aaron said it. They got beat. They got beat. You know, last year you can sit back and talk about the World Series in Game 5, and you can say Yankees beat themselves in that particular game. In this series, the Toronto Blue Jays proved that they were a better team. Right? From top to bottom, they were a better team. What's tough is for the Yankee fans, right? This is the second year in a row that they've watched another team celebrate on their home field. And you can feel the frustration. But look, those press conferences that Aaron just did, we've all been in them. They're very, very difficult because we've been a part of teams where we thought we're going to win a World Series, thought we were the best team, and it didn't happen, right? So I think sometimes you got to sit down and let it all digest for a minute. And I think it's probably a longer conversation to what you had brought up, Al. But Aaron did a good job. I mean, look, he's working with what he has to work with, and he sticks up for his players. I know he takes a lot of heat. But, look, I'm not saying it from any inside knowledge, but I'm pretty sure Aaron's not the one that's calling every move that they make throughout the game.
Up, there it is. He's not the one making every move, and he's right in many instances, because managers are still beholden to general managers, who are the guys who hire and fire them, who are their bosses. There is no doubt that in the current Yankees standing, and really I guess you could say this about a lot of Major League Baseball teams, that general manager is the key, because that is the person who has to put the players together, has to put the right players together, has to get the manager on their side, has to have the right coaches, has to have the right mesh, if you will, that puts everything together. And to hear players, former players, now going after, and very subtly, very slightly going after Brian Cashman. If you're a Yankees fan, you need to direct your ire there, not at Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone did a hell of a job in the series against Toronto. He did a hell of a job during the season. He brought you to the playoffs. He led those players and got you there. Aaron Boone is not the problem with the New York Yankees. In a lot of situations, managers are the problem. He's not. 7 out of 8 times in the playoffs. Come on, guys. Which leads us to something even greater. Yankees fans, more than any other fan in any other sport, need to start realizing that the generational mythology of this team is over. You are no longer ordained to win every World Series. The season does not begin, no matter what the media tells you. And the national media will tell you a lot, especially people like Fox, because they have a vested interest in the Yankees, because that is still the #1 television market in the country. And there's still more Yankee fans across America than anybody else. They have a financial stake in all this. If the Yankees do well, they do well. Their sponsors do well. Everybody makes more money. If the Texas Rangers win, they don't make half as much money. If the Diamondbacks win, they don't make nearly as much money. If the Marlins get into the playoffs, not even close. And the ratings won't be as good. See, ratings still determine how much money you make, and everybody still wants to make a buck. So you are not always deemed to be the winner at the beginning of the season. Stop it. You need it. You need to stop this because you're hurting yourself, all right? I did a little research. Yankees fans are always saying that, hey, we still got 27 rings. We still have more World Series titles than anybody. You guys suck. We're the Yankees. That's why we deserve to win. Hold on a sec here. And Yankees fans, don't kill the messenger on this because this is all fact, all right? Out of 27 World Series, 8 of them came before World War II. 16 before minorities were allowed in Major League Baseball. 19 of them, the American League only had 8 teams. And 20 of those titles were before each league had its own league championship series. Stop living in the past. Stop telling us all about how great the Yankees were. That's right, you were. You're not great now. You're a very good team. You're an above-average team in Major League Baseball right now. And you're never going to be there again. See, this is what not just Yankees fans, but fans have to realize. The era of real dynasties is gone. It's not going to happen anymore. Now, you can have, I'll give you an example. You can have teams that win 2 championships in a row, like the Florida Panthers did. You can have a lot of teams win 2, maybe even 3, but those dynasties where you're winning World Series 5 times out of 7, 5 times out of 8, 6 times out of 10, it's just not going to happen anymore, and it's not always going to be deemed to be the New York Yankees who are going to be there. Stop living in the past. Stop this nonsense. You're going to feel a whole lot better about yourself because you need to demand a lot more of your team. But you've also got to accept the reality of the situation. You're not going to win the World Series every year. You didn't win it last year because the LA Dodgers were better than your team. You didn't win it this year because the Toronto Blue Jays were better than your team. It's simply just the way things work. You're not invincible. Meshing together is tough in every single sport. A guy like Aaron Boone can't get out there and hit. He can't pitch. He can't hit the cutoff man. He can't understand how to do things in a split second. I mean, he can. He's been there. He's been a player, so he knows how to do it. But he can't get out and do it for the players. If the players don't get out there and do it, then Aaron Boone can't get out there, whip them into shape, and make them do it. All right? The guy is an excellent manager. This is where Yankees fans need to cut the cord. Stop the nonsense. Stop the bullshit. For 2026, every time something happens, that it's Aaron Boone's fault, because it's not. You're fans. You have earned the right to bitch and moan and whine. You have earned the right to pay your tickets, go to the stadium, and also complain. Not to be stupid about it, but you get a chance to complain. So yeah, you have the right to do that. But stop living in the past. Stop living in this mystique-filled land that every single time the Major League Baseball season starts, the New York Yankees are going to be a favorite to win the championship. No, you're not. You're in there because the gamblers want you to be a favorite. The networks want them to be a favorite. They all want more money, so they're going to continue to say it. Might they be the best and a championship contender? Sure. They have great talent. But every single year, there's better teams than the New York Yankees. He said it out loud. He said it out loud. I did. Okay? And for the record, I'm not a Yankees fan, but I'm not a Yankees hater either. I grew up in New York City, and I was a Mets fan. That's my cross to bear for the rest of my life. But I didn't hate the Yankees. I watched the Yankees on TV. I listened to them on radio. When they won, I was happy. When the Mets won, I was happy. I mean, I don't root for the Mets anymore because I grew up, became an adult, and got intelligent. But still, I don't hate the Yankees. That's the other thing, too. People keep saying that everybody hates. Yeah, there are people out there who hate the Yankees because you win a lot. But you haven't won a World Series in a long time. You're not invincible. Stick with it, fans. Demand more, but stop blaming. That's one thing I want to, from now on, for next season, it's not going to happen because my voice only reaches certain people. And there's a lot of people who are going to do it anyway. They can. But stop with the nonsense of blaming Aaron Boone for everything. Aaron Boone is not the reason why the New York Yankees lost in the playoffs this year. He's not the reason why they lost, not the sole reason that they lost to the LA Dodgers last season. Every manager takes a part in what is the victory and the losses for everybody. Every manager is a part of it. They're part of a team. But Aaron Boone, I'm going to start sticking up for Aaron Boone from now on. Because the guy has proven that he's a winner. Is he going to win a World Series? You hope so. You hope for he and the players and the guys putting in the guts and the effort. And yeah, the fans too. But it's not going to happen this year. It may not happen next year. And it doesn't happen simply because you're the New York Yankees. It doesn't work that way anymore. So get out and enjoy the game. Stop blaming Aaron Boone. Take a breath. All is better in Yankee land. Moving on, we go to college football. Everything is different now in college football than it was just 10 years ago. With NIL, with the transfer portal, with the incredible, insane amount of money that is being spent in college football, everything is entirely different. One thing that is also different that I never saw, or that I certainly didn't see at this level, as I was covering it for many years, is the influence of gambling on college football and college athletics. It is now infinitesimally worse than it used to be, with players gambling, with the fixing of games, with players who simply believe they can get away with it. And it's not just hurting the integrity of the game. It's hurting the players, the games, and the fans themselves. I want you to listen to this report from CBS News. This was done a couple of years ago. I want you to listen very closely to the words of the NCAA president in this interview, because that will come up right after the report.
College football rivalry at its finest.
When Iowa took on Iowa State in September, it was 5 players not on the field who made headlines. They all faced criminal betting charges, including Iowa State's starting quarterback, Hunter Dekkers.
Was he betting on his own team?
Yes. I mean, any athlete betting on their own events, period, in our world it just can't happen.
What about the SEC?
Matt Holt runs U.S. Integrity, a company that crunches data for every major college conference to make sure games are conducted fairly and squarely.
I think Iowa and Iowa State was a huge eye-opener.
I've met with all 97 conferences.
But NCAA President Charlie Baker's were already open, especially on a kind of wager called a prop bet.
I think prop betting in some respects is one of the parts I worry about the most.
Prop bets are side bets made on some part of the game, like will a given player make his first shot? It could be hard to detect if the make or miss is on the level. Out of $93 billion bet on sports legally in the U.S. last year, a staggering $12 billion were prop bets.
My concern about prop betting is just that putting myself in the shoes of a young person who's on a campus, who has a friend or two that come up to them and say, you know, I love you, I've always supported you. If you could just miss your first couple of free throws this week, it won't affect the outcome of the game.
Our CBS News investigation found 22 states where gambling is legal that ban prop betting specifically on college sports. At least 8 states still allow it.
We get the fact.
Baker, the former governor of Massachusetts, signed the law legalizing online gambling there, except on college sports.
I've talked to a lot of coaches about this, and I've talked to a ton of conference commissioners and athletic directors, and yeah, they're all concerned. And I think they're concerned about it for the same reasons we are.
College football, then as it is now, is so right to be concerned about gambling. But to hear Charlie Baker with this righteous attitude about how we need to take care of prop betting, we need to make sure that the game is on the up and up, we need to make sure that the athletes themselves don't make these sorts of mistakes. It comes off as specious bullshit, quite frankly, because we are now in an era and a time when the NCAA has a proposal that they have adopted that will allow players and staff on college football and college athletic programs to legally bet on pro sports. Now, you can't bet on college sports, but they're going to let them bet on professional sports. The administrative committee says this from Josh Whitman, the Illinois athletics director and chair of the committee. The administrative committee was clear in its discussion today that it remains concerned about the risks associated with all forms of sports gambling. You're worried about everything involved in sports gambling, but you are now about to open the door to sports gambling. We ultimately voted to reduce restrictions on student athletes in this area to better align with their campus peers. Hang on a sec. Their campus peers are not out there actually playing the games, and last time I checked, their campus peers, the young men and women who are in classes, aren't out there with the opportunity to fix the games, to affect the outcome of the games. They're out there in class. The athlete's not in class. The athlete's on court, on the ice, on the field. They're the ones with the opportunity to fix the game. So doesn't that ring a little bit strange to hear that said? Doesn't that basically defeat the whole purpose? This change allows the NCAA, the conferences, and the member schools to focus on protecting the integrity of college games, while at the same time encouraging healthy habits for student athletes who choose to engage in betting activities on professional sports. Yeah, that's right. Don't worry about a thing, kids. Gambling is a healthy way to make your day. That's right. We're going to go ahead and make sure that we can all still gamble. One of the greatest diseases to ever strike American society in years, certainly in sports. Let's go ahead and make sure that it's nice and healthy, and all those players can get out there and they can take part in gambling like their friends do and really have a great old time doing it, in basically wagering money they don't have, some of them who do have, and in driving themselves down into a disease that basically creates the need, the want, the always cringy desire to gamble, the plunging gamblers, if you will. Sure, let's go ahead and create it. What bullshit. I mean, what arrogant, incredible bullshit. I mean, who's kidding who? Here the NCAA is saying, we're going to let them bet on pro sports. Don't worry about it. Everything else is nice and healthy. Have you heard what's going on in college athletics these days? Did anybody in this audience, and the NCAA specifically, pay attention to what happened in February of 2025?
2 of the 3 college players named in the betting investigation are now off the team. Sports director Stephen Hicks joins us from the live desk with the comments made by one player on his role in the gambling scandal. Stephen?
Yeah, Warren, Jalen Weaver telling ESPN that he played a daily fantasy contest in Fresno State's game against New Mexico, betting $50 that he would score more than 11 points. Now, Weaver finished that game with 13, and he tells ESPN he made a mistake, but that he never tried to sabotage the season. According to the now former Bulldog, he never bet on the team to lose, never betting on his unders. According to the ESPN report, that is not the case for Michael Robinson. Sources tell ESPN he bet the under on points and rebounds he would record in games played. Now, essentially betting against his team. At least one major U.S. sportsbook tells ESPN they got increased betting interest on Robinson's props in games this season. He hasn't played since January 11th and is no longer associated with the team. A third player, Zion Collins, said to have gambled on professional sports. He was kept out of last Saturday's game at Air Force. It's unclear on if he's playing tomorrow against Boise State, as the school has not responded to multiple requests for comments.
As we sit here right now and discuss this, the NCAA and federal authorities are looking into innumerable cases of gambling on campus. And mostly it's basketball players and football players, but mostly it's the college basketball players. Fresno State was just really a tip of an iceberg. But that's an iceberg that's been floating in college athletics for about 30 years. Gambling isn't anything new. Players have done it illegally for a long time. But right now I can tell you without a single doubt, after talking to friends of mine, colleagues around the country, those who cover college athletics, almost every single one of them I speak with tells me that they have no doubt whatsoever there is gambling going on the basketball program, the men's and the women's program. There is gambling going on with the college football players. They just haven't been able to find it yet, or in many cases, the universities themselves turn a blind eye to it. They don't want to get involved because they don't want to destroy the money. They don't want to get involved in taking care of the profit margins because everybody's in bed with gamblers right now. From the universities to the networks to the sponsors, everybody's involved. Everybody pushes gambling forward as a nice, healthy way to go ahead and have some fun with your friends, kids. But that's the point. It is a disease. College is rife with gambling. There's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of criminal element out there. There's a lot of young men and women who simply are too naive, too stupid to understand what's going on right now. They're young. They don't get it. It's just a little bet here and there. It's just a point. It's a free throw I missed. It's a 2-point conversion that we didn't make. Hey, we still won the game. Everybody's happy. Yeah, we won the game 70-45. It's no big deal. Hey, that 2 points and that field goal, it's shanked to the left. Don't worry about it because it still covered the spread and everybody's happy. The NCAA needs to hammer down. The NCAA and any regulatory body in college athletics must hammer down on the gambling issue now. And they have to get a lot more serious. If you find somebody who is betting on their team, you kick them out immediately. You don't even think twice. And you launch the investigation. You find out who else was involved. You turn them over to the authorities, whether it's local, state, or federal. And you make sure that they get charged. You bring those investigations deep and you punish your own players. And if you think that allowing college athletes to gamble on pro sports is going to make them all nice and happy and have a really good time, and it's not going to affect what happens in their day-to-day lives on court, on ice, on field, then you are insane. Insane. Because it's a disease. It's an addiction. And once you have it in one place, you're going to have it in other places. To think that a lot of these college athletes are just going to go ahead and bet on the NFL on a weekend or bet on the Lakers on a weekend and not have it interfere with their college lives is a level of stupid ignorance that I haven't heard in a long time. Granted, there are investigations and there are players like the ones at Fresno State that are being taken and are being punished. But the punishment needs to be more severe. The punishments need to be much more harsh in order to start punishing these players and make others behind them realize that you're just not going to get away with it. You've got to kick them out of school immediately. You got to take away everything they had. You got to cut them adrift. And then you got to turn them over to the authorities and let them take their chance by going to jail. Tough shit. That's the way life is. You make a mistake, you pay for it. But let's also be frighteningly honest here. A lot of colleges are covering up the gambling that goes on at their universities by players. Don't tell me otherwise. Because I've been there. And it wasn't recently, but I have been there at times when universities, when coaches, when managers, when people involved with programs have covered up for the players to make sure that any illegalities weren't mentioned, didn't get out there, didn't make public news. And because you have the colleges deep, deep in bed with casinos and with the gambling platforms right now, they don't want to rock the boat because that gambling money works its way into the TV networks. That money works its way into the university, to the athletic department, to everybody along the line. It is a filtering of that cash. So all that money made from all the sponsorships and all the gambling revenue that's made that gets kicked back is one way or another sifting its way down to the level of the athlete themselves and the payments. Look at the tremendous amount of money right now that coaches are getting in every single sport. I mean, where do you think that money all comes from? Yeah, it comes from a lot of resources, but it also comes from sponsorship money, from booster money, from gambling money. It's all involved. And look, I'm not saying that if you're on the outside looking in, and if you want to gamble, go ahead. Go ahead. I mean, if you can gamble legally and you're of age and you want to do it, fine. But they have to enforce a zero-tolerance policy for anybody betting on anything, legal, illegal, pro, amateur, whatever. You got to cut the cord. It's the only way to make sure that that possibility does not live right in your own backyard. And you got to investigate it, and you got to look after it, and you got to kick players out. If they're the most popular player on the team, if they're the most powerful player on the team, and if they're found gambling, if they're found moving bets, you're out. You're gone. You're no longer on the team. You're no longer in the school. Goodbye. It has to happen. It's the only way to keep the integrity of the game solid, the integrity of the sport solid. This is about college athletics, and this is about the plundering of college athletics with the use of gambling money. It's got to stop. And the NCAA is flat out wrong in allowing their athletes to place legal bets. You play for the team, you play for us, you can't gamble. Sure, there's going to be lawsuits. Fight the lawsuits. These are the rules. You can't do it. If you do it, you're out. No second chance. Moving on. The Bill Belichick disaster just gets worse and worse every single week. I have told myself, matter of fact, before we put the show together, I was telling myself, look, I really don't want to talk much about Bill Belichick because we've talked about it ad nauseum. But when local television stations in North Carolina start to dig deep and they find out what's really going on in this program, you've got to start asking some serious questions.
A divided locker room, disaster on the football field, and claims of a disorganized mess behind the scenes. Only on WRAL, this is just the start of the problems for Bill Belichick and North Carolina football. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ashley Rowe.
And I'm Gerald Owens. Parents and players point to a sea of culture problems as the team was blown out this weekend by Clemson in their ACC opener. Pat Welter joins us now with details you will only see on WRAL. Pat?
Yeah, Amir, and there's no culture, no organization. It is a complete disaster. Those are the kind of quotes I'm getting from sources with firsthand knowledge of the inner workings of Bill Belichick's football program. So we talked to players, parents, members of the coaching staff, the board of trustees, and the athletic department to try to paint a complete picture of what's going on behind the scenes here. According to sources, a divide formed naturally when Belichick was hired. Background players versus the transfers. The way Belichick has run the program hasn't bridged the gap. It's only made it grow. According to multiple sources, UNC has a divided locker room, a disorganized staff, and an overall failure to communicate. A divide is natural when you have Mac Brown-era players and the 70 new ones Belichick brought in. But according to sources, preferential treatment and a lack of leadership has added to the discontent. One source said they don't fault the players. They fault the leadership that created this toxic environment. There's an individualistic mindset. Here are the example sources shared with us. Some players and their parents have better parking and stadium access on game days. Players who miss class and meetings aren't being held accountable. Players are selling their spare game tickets rather than sharing them with teammates. The non-travel roster players don't get to dress for home games, something you might see from an NFL practice player, but not in college football, adding to an overall lack of unity within the team. Parents say they have zero communication with coaches and were asked not to approach Bill Belichick, a stark contrast from the open-door approach of Mac Brown. One source said the lack of experience the coaches have is ridiculous. Belichick himself has been praised by multiple sources for his one-on-one coaching. It's his ability to run the program that's being questioned by parents and players. One source said, Bill shuts people out. He's limited in what he says. Chancellor Lee Roberts preached patience when discussing Belichick at a Board of Trustees meeting last week. Even after the Clemson loss, the feeling within the UNC athletic department remains the same. Given the investment they've made, patience is the path, but they also understand that they hired Belichick knowing he didn't have college experience. They would like to help support Belichick and the players. Belichick needs to be willing to receive it at the same time.
Overall, the feeling from sources is that the little points of division have become big, and you're seeing it now on the field. Now, you don't need anonymous sources to tell you there's no energy, very little communication on the sidelines. You can see it with your own eyes. We've reached out to Belichick's PR staff. They chose not to comment.
Look, here's the bottom line. You are never going to tell Bill Belichick what to do. That's the bottom line. Belichick came into North Carolina from the New England Patriots. In the Patriot style, it was his way or the highway. That's it. So if North Carolina actually thought that by hiring Bill Belichick they were getting a partner, then they're more naive than anybody could have possibly imagined. He's not anybody's partner. Bill is Bill's own leader, and Bill will tell you what to do. Bill Belichick has created an incredible, unmitigated, unflailing disaster at Chapel Hill right now with the North Carolina football program. When you piss the parents off, you're in big trouble. And with all the favoritism that apparently is going on in that locker room right now, Belichick has just destroyed what was there. Look, let's be honest. What was there was not great. North Carolina had a lot of issues. North Carolina was never going to contend for a conference championship, certainly not a national championship. So they wanted to spend money, and they wanted to bring in somebody who had a championship pedigree, if you will. Belichick's championship pedigree is from professional football, which does not equate to college football. You can make the jump from college to pro, sometimes Urban Meyer, but you simply cannot make that jump if you've never done it before from pro to college. It doesn't work. It's an entirely different system. And Belichick came in and decided that this is the way things were going to be. He has failed. All right, this is the one thing what Belichick needs to understand. He's failed. Now, it's early in the process. He could be there for 2, 3, 5 seasons, turn this program around, and who knows, North Carolina could actually contend in a couple of years. Which ain't going to happen because they're rudderless right now. It started at the top with North Carolina, who thought that they could bring in Belichick and save the program. They could just throw money at him. But what you have to remember is you have the Belichick ego, the Belichick arrogance, the Belichick hubris. I've been there. I covered this team for 4 years. I was around the culture that he created in New England. And it was a great pro culture, but it doesn't work in college sports. The other thing that we have to bring into the fold here is, why did Belichick take a college job? Because no one in the National Football League wanted him. It's that simple. Belichick had aged out. He had his way of doing things. And the other franchises who looked at him said, that's not what we need. We don't need an old guy, even with all his Super Bowl championships. We need somebody who comes in and who can actually relate to the players of today, which Bill couldn't do. Bill Belichick had a ton of excellent assistants, and these were the guys who helped make sure that things stayed calm down in the locker room. Belichick didn't give a shit about what happened in the locker room. He barely knew what went on. A lot of head coaches don't, but Belichick had no idea what was happening with the players. You know why? Because he handed off that responsibility to the assistant coaches and to his players. That's why you had guys like Tom Brady, guys like Rodney Harrison, Teddy Bruschi. These are the guys who basically took the locker room and controlled it and kept things calm. Anything happened, you take it up to Bill. But they didn't want to do that. They kept everything in-house. Belichick was completely detached from his players in the pros, and you can get away with that in the National Football League. You cannot get away with that in college athletics. It simply doesn't happen. When UNC decided to throw money at Belichick, which is exactly what they did, giving him all the control that he possibly wanted, they missed a couple of key points. One, Belichick had never coached in college before, which basically should have been the red flag right there, because you have to have an idea of how to run a program. This isn't a team. This isn't a franchise. This is a program. It's entirely different. They then had to realize that they were getting a guy who would not listen. He doesn't take orders. He doesn't take commands. Look, he has his own public relations staff. At college, you have what's called the Sports Information Department, which is your public relations. Everything goes through the SIDs. Not in North Carolina. Bill's got his own public relations people. He can tell people to fark off and walk away, and he can not have to deal with anybody. He just lets his PR people, Jordan, hello Jordan, deal with it, and then he can just go about his business. He's arrogant. He's a totalitarian in many ways. But then we go to the next step in all of this. Is it possible that Bill Belichick simply was the most overrated head coach in National Football League history to win multiple Super Bowls? Now, I say that, and there's a part of me that can't even believe that's coming out of my mouth. Because look, how many Super Bowls does he have? The guy's a legend. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's got Super Bowl trophies that he can put in his bathroom. But was he overrated? Was it the fact that he had Tom Brady? Can we then take for the fact that nothing happened before Brady and nothing happened after Brady, which showed that Belichick basically had feet of clay when it came to being this great coach? Look, he might be a great organizer, but his great coaching still came from his assistants, guys like Josh McDaniels. These are the guys who put together the offenses, the defenses, the special teams. Did Bill get in there every now and then and coach? Sure, I'll bet you he talked to some of the players like he's trying to talk with some of the college players. But I honestly don't believe that Bill Belichick gets involved in the X's and O's and the basic grunt work, because he hands that off to other people. He's done the same in North Carolina. Bill Belichick and UNC have destroyed their program right now. The question is, does he need to get out? The question is, does he want to? Look, there's still the unanswered question as to why a guy like Bill Belichick would want to go to college. I already mentioned one of the reasons why. Nobody in the NFL wanted him. Don't take this that Bill didn't want to take certain jobs. The jobs that he wanted, the big jobs, wouldn't touch him. Wouldn't touch him. Because they knew what they were getting themselves involved in. They knew the kind of guy that he was. They didn't want him with their franchise. They wanted somebody else. They wanted somebody who could talk to the younger players, which Bill can't do, and he can't do at college either. It is an unmitigated disaster at Chapel Hill. Everything's going to come out. We're all going to hear all of these stories from parents and boosters and players. And the other side of it is players. The players don't want to play for Belichick. You got a group of players there right now who don't want to play for him. And you got players that he brought in who don't care. They're not going anywhere. And you've got players sitting out there in the transfer portal who go, what? Go to play for Bill Belichick in North Carolina? Why would I want to do that to my career? I only get a couple of years. I want to go play somewhere where I can have a chance to actually win games, and maybe where I can have a chance to contend for a national title, and that's not Belichick. Bill Belichick has destroyed his reputation. Let's be honest. When history looks back at Belichick, there's the people who are going to say, he won Super Bowls. He was a multiple Super Bowl winning head coach in the National Football League. He won a tremendous amount of games. He didn't win the most, which is something that still grinds on him because he really wanted to catch Don Shula. That's not going to happen. But with all that greatness that Bill did, he went to North Carolina and screwed everything up. He screwed up the players. He screwed up the program. He screwed up the school. He screwed up the boosters. He screwed up the parents. He screwed up everything. Lock, stock, and barrel. And he screwed up his reputation because he had an excellent reputation. Well, he's still a son of a bitch in many ways. He's not the guy you'd want to go out and have a beer with because he doesn't have the personality for it. But he's ruined his reputation because he couldn't stay away. He couldn't get off the wheel. He couldn't get off the horse. He had to get on there. He had to prove that he could do it at college. You can't. You're done. You're out. Unfortunately, it's going to come at the careers of a lot of good college players And it's going to come to all those fans who thought they were getting something special, but you're not. You're just getting a retread. He's not that good in college. And he's not that good a coach anymore. And maybe he never was. Moving on. We have to make note of what's going on in the WNBA because this is a league right now that's in a lot of problems, a lot of discourse that's going back and forth. But I specifically wanted to talk about the social media aspect of the WNBA issues. I'm always touring social media, looking for things that we can talk about, looking for different items, looking for a little more information, talking to my friends all around the country. But the one thing that I think is hysterical is all of these clickbait clowns and these trolls who are out there pushing absolute, complete bullshit about the WNBA, and people are falling for it. Take, for instance,
Adam Silver stepping in is not something you see every day. He's the NBA commissioner, not the WNBA's babysitter. But this time, he had no choice. Silver announced that Cathy Engelbert would be suspended indefinitely while an internal review looked into the league's leadership and the fallout from the press footage. The move was unprecedented. It showed how serious the situation had become. In his remarks, Silver made it clear that the WNBA's credibility and its relationship with players had reached a breaking point. He said the league needed a reset, and that couldn't happen with Engelbert at the helm. What's wild is that it took this much drama for someone to finally step in. Fans and analysts had been questioning Engelbert's decisions for months, especially after the Olympic snub of Caitlin Clark and the growing disconnect between leadership and players. Silver's intervention showed that even the NBA couldn't ignore the WNBA's dysfunction anymore. In a way, it was embarrassing for the league. Instead of running itself, the WNBA needed the NBA's top boss to step in and stabilize things. For Engelbert, it wasn't just a suspension. It was a public admission that she had lost control.
Again, there was no suspension. It's all clickbait bullshit. And people are falling for it. It's all of the trolls that are out there just shoveling this nonsense out there, getting clicks because that's all they want. They don't want anything to do with any facts or any real truth in reporting. No journalism involved here. This is all about getting those happy little clicks so they can go back to their mommy in the kitchen. They can go out of the basement from where they basically record their shows and go, look, Ma, I got 27 clicks this week. Hey, I'm big, I'm famous. Bullshit. It's just what's being thrown around the WNBA. But the biggest point here is Adam Silver, as the commissioner of the NBA, has a fiduciary responsibility to stay involved in what happens with the WNBA, because the NBA is still the biggest supporter, financially speaking, of the WNBA. They have a huge monetary input here. So it is his right and his responsibility to make sure that money is being spent properly. Not only that, but Silver runs one of the most powerful sports leagues in the world. The WNBA is still basically, even though they've been around a long time, they're still, thanks to the remake, a bit of an infant league right now. They still have growing pains. And it doesn't make a difference how good the people are. They need a little guidance from time to time. Cathy Engelbert is an excellent businesswoman. And she thus far has been a pretty good commissioner. Well, that's if you're not listening to some of the propaganda. But in the same breath, you need a hand here and there. Adam Silver did not intervene. Adam Silver came to Cathy Engelbert and said, how about we talk this out? How about I give you a hand? How about I help you a little bit in dealing with some of these players? Look, and one of the biggest things here in a CBA is you've got to make sure that the players don't run the league. And the players have to understand that too. The running of the WNBA comes from the commissioner's office and then goes back to the NBA. There is a pattern here. Players don't run this league. That can't happen. Yes, the officiating needs to get better. Yes, the players need to be paid more. Yes, there needs to be better marketing and there needs to be a better understanding of the athletes. But you can't let the inmates run the asylum. They're not the ones who need to have the power in all this. The players can't run this league. And the WNBA needs that help from Adam Silver and others to make sure that they are getting through a very difficult CBA. Which brings up another point. I have been hammered by a lot of people across social media on some of the comments that I have made about the WNBA in the last month or so. One of the comments that keeps coming up is, Ed, how can you take these players to task like this when the WNBA makes sure that they're not getting the big money? The WNBA is keeping them down. The WNBA makes sure that they make absolute crap money, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. They're not making the millions that their peers in the NBA should make. How can you look past that? Here it is. More bullshit in all of this. Okay? You really think that the WNBA is keeping the players down? What's the advantage? What's the reason? Why would a commissioner or anybody sit there and say, I'm going to make sure that you get paid $150,000 less? Now, there are budgets that have to be hit. There is a question about the profit margin. There's a question about revenue sharing. There's all of these questions that need to be answered. But the unbelievable nonsense that Kathy Engelbert or anybody at the forefront of the WNBA is trying to keep their players down, they want their players to succeed. Because when the players succeed, the league succeeds. When the league succeeds, everybody makes a lot of money. That's the end of it. It's about everybody making a tremendous amount of money, so they are not keeping their players down. Engelbert is not out there making sure that contracts stay down. It happens in every single sport where there are contracts and players are contracted and players get involved with management, and management and ownership decides how you're going to make more money, and then you collectively bargain, and then you negotiate better contracts, and then everybody makes more money, and then the sponsorships go up, and then the ratings go up. It's all just one big string here, kids. So let's stop with this complete bullshit that the WNBA is trying to keep its players down. There's no logic in that. There's nothing to be gained in that. Keep the players down? Why? Then you want them angry and you don't want your best players out there? You don't want Caitlin Clark angry? You don't want any of these other players angry? You want them to be happy. You want them to be out there playing great basketball. So that's why you have collective bargaining. You get involved. You create new contracts. You pave the way for more money. Because the WNBA still is not making a profit. They still are subsidized by the NBA. With all of this wonderness, with all of these marketing tools, with all of these ratings and all of these fans showing up at seats, the WNBA is still not profitable and able to stand on its own. So the players need to understand that, management needs to understand that, and the fans need to understand that. Well, the fans less, because the fans are involved in wanting to win and come see a great game. That's what they deserve every single time. But the WNBA is not holding its players back. You're biting into the clickbait trolls of the world. You're biting into the idiots who are out there throwing out stuff like Kathy Engelbert is suspended when it's a complete lie. Get the facts. Understand. And the league will move on. Everybody needs to take a breath. Isn't that better? Yeah, right. I know. Complete bullshit. All right, moving on. Our final story here for the fastest show in sports. I have never in my life been so amazed, if you will, at the furor, the clamor, the spit, the bile from the decision to have Bad Bunny play the halftime show at the Super Bowl. I swear to God, I never thought I'd see anything like this. It's becoming almost literally hysterical in the way people are treating things. But the most hysterical thing that has happened lately is you've got people from around the world who are focusing on Bad Bunny, apparently not standing for God Bless America in a game at Yankee Stadium.
Bad Bunny, we've talked a bit about him. He's caused more controversy surrounding the NFL's decision to book him for the Super Bowl halftime show next year. Now, he's refused to stand up for God Bless America during a Yankees game. Tell me about this, Kinsey. This isn't going to win him any fans.
Yeah, I mean, there's just video. First of all, when you're Bad Bunny, shouldn't you know better? And there's video of him refusing to stand up as the entire stadium stands up and is proudly singing God Bless America. And, you know, standing up for God Bless America isn't politics. It's gratitude. When you've built a career in America and scored one of the biggest stages in the world, the Super Bowl, maybe just take a moment to stand up and show a little respect. But I think he's angry because people are pushing back about this halftime show.
Oh, people are going to be pushing back a lot more if he uses that honour to push his politics, to play these divisive games. He should just take that honour and try to introduce his music to a whole new audience, because a lot of football fans have no idea who he is. But I've got a feeling that's not what's going to happen.
This is some of the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life, in my career. This constant going on and on about everything that Bad Bunny does now, that he's not an American, he hates America. Oh, and he won't stand for God Bless America. Here, let me go ahead and stop you right here. It is not mandatory to stand for God Bless America. It is not the national anthem. Okay? Understand that. There is nowhere printed anywhere that says that if God Bless America is played either at a baseball event, a football event, your local meeting of the school board, that you have to stand for it. And how do these two gossip queen bimbos know that everybody in the stadium stood except Bad Bunny? What, did you count everybody? Did you look at it? I talked to people who were at the game. They said there were a lot of people who didn't stand up. The thing about it is they're focusing on Bad Bunny right now because of this far-right nonsense that is screaming that he hates America, and it's all just bad for America. Things are terrible. The halftime show is going to change America. It's going to make us a worse country than ever before. We're all going to explode. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. Bottom line in this, Bad Bunny doesn't have to stand for God Bless America. He doesn't. Nobody does. You don't have to. There's a lot of people that don't stand for the national anthem because they're not from America. Some do it out of respect. Most do it out of respect. But it is there, part of the tradition, that you stand for the national anthem. Of course, this goes back to the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, but that's another story altogether. But Bad Bunny didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything disrespectful. He was at a game. They played God Bless America. He sat down. I'm not that upset about it. I really am not. Look, it's his decision. I'm not offended by it in the least. Oh, but you better believe there's a group of people out there right now who are going to carry this offense, this national disaster as far as they possibly can. Especially when you now consider that Turning Point USA, the group founded by Charlie Kirk, has announced that they are going to hold their own halftime show to coincide with the Bad Bunny show at the Super Bowl. It's going to be the Turning Point USA replacement halftime show, which of course is ballyhooed by a number of their propagandists.
The rumors are true. It's happening. The All-American halftime show. It's officially here. It's officially happening. Started, they actually pulled it off. TV USA is announcing the All-American halftime show. Hold me now. Anything in English is so good. Yes. Turning Point is hosting a pro-family, pro-America halftime show. This is fun and incredible. And you should turn off the debauchery and what's clearly going to be a political lecture. It's clearly going to be a giant lecture.
Which is exactly what guys like Benny Johnson are involved in, is lecturing everybody on how bad it is. See, that's the thing. People like Benny Johnson complain that it's going to be a lecture, and they sit there lecturing us about what they want us to believe, and they want you to believe. And they're going to push the propaganda. Look, Benny Johnson is nothing more than an exclusive mouthpiece of the far-right media. He's on places like Breitbart, The Blaze, The National Review, The Daily Caller, and Newsmax, all far-right propagandists. Let's not even talk about the fact that some of them have been involved in lawsuits where they basically had to settle the lawsuits. Let's not go there, okay? That's a story for another day and not for a sports show. Benny Johnson was fired from BuzzFeed on several charges of plagiarism. He has reposted fake items claiming Antifa, and there is no Antifa organization in America. There is no paid group like it. Antifa stands for anti-fascist. And also, he was paid by the Russian state media back in 2024, and he claims he never knew that the money he was getting was from the Russians. Isn't that strange? What is wrong with you people? What has affected you like this? It's a 15-minute performance, maybe 16, maybe 17. It's a musical performance in the middle of a sporting event. Granted, the sporting event that, except for the World Cup, just about everybody around the world watches, but it's a music event, and you're all upset, screaming, hollering, whining about all this that's going to happen. The sky is going to be falling, all of this, that we need another halftime show. Look, I don't know if it's possible, but if that's the case, record the Puppy Bowl and then play that back. You'll actually be doing something good for puppies, which would really make you a better person. But no. I can already guarantee, let's see, the Turning Point USA halftime show. Ted Nugent, who sucks out loud. Ted, when you had the Motor City Madman days, I actually had some Ted Nugent albums back then. This is just what the doctor ordered and a whole lot of other great stuff. Ted, you suck. You're not good anymore. You're old. Your playing's bad. Your singing's bad. Everything is bad about you. Let's see what else we're going to put in here. Oh, Up With People. We could put that in there, but most of them are dead. So we'd have to have an Up With People ghost audience to come in and do it. Wait a minute. Let's see. Who else? Let's get Lee Greenwood to come in. He can do God Bless the USA 27 times straight. Well, no, let's see. It's only a 15-minute performance. The song is about 3.5 minutes. So if we get him to play God Bless the USA 10 straight times, it'll fill everything up and everybody will be happy. Oh, but wait a minute. We need Kid Rock in there as well to make sure the Kid Rock is out there. Let's have him throw some beers up in the air. Maybe shoot him. Maybe have a little sidearm here. Throw the cans up. Boom. Shoot the Bud Light or whatever it is that he wants to anymore. Have that out there. There's a halftime show for you. What is wrong with you people? What are you so upset about? Bad Bunny doesn't hate America. He is an American citizen, by the way, in case you've missed it. He said he's going to do it in Spanish. And I guarantee you that when this show goes off, there's going to be an English component to it. I guarantee you it will be produced so that it doesn't offend anybody. I guarantee you they're going to stay away from politics on this. Bad Bunny doesn't have to do it. He doesn't hate America. He's never said he's angry. He's never said he's going to lash out. Not any of this. It's all bullshit. Complete, total, unadulterated, festering bullshit. Stop being upset about a music event. It's not going to change the course of history. You're going to change the course of history by making it a big deal. But it's not going to change anything. You're going to look foolish. You're going to look stupid. You're going to look like nothing more than a bunch of Neanderthals hanging out there, basically saying, oh, we want anything that's in English. People in America speak English, but a lot of them speak other languages too. So what's the big deal? I don't speak great Spanish. I took 2 years of it in high school, and I still don't speak great Spanish. I'm taking Spanish lessons now. Why not? Doesn't faze me. Doesn't bother me. Bad Bunny, come on in, brother. Oh, and by the way, one last thing. Bad Bunny did not play the United States because he was afraid of getting arrested by ICE. He did it because he knew that ICE was going to show up, and for fans who came to see him, they were going to go through the crowd and start arresting people. He didn't want people illegally deported, so he decided not to come to the United States. Hey, I think it's easy to see who the winner is in all this. And it's not you people out there who swear you got to have another halftime show. But have it. Enjoy it. You can do it. And I'm going to tell you right now what's going to happen. When the Turning Point USA halftime show happens, they're going to come out and say that we had better acts. They're going to come out and say that we had better ratings. They're going to come out and say that the demographics were better. They're going to come out and say how they saved America, even though Bad Bunny will crush them in the ratings, but they're going to tell you how they won. That's right. It's all about winning. It's not about doing the right thing for America. It's not about doing the right thing for football. It's not about doing the right thing for music. It's about winning, baby. We all got to win. You people are just so foolish. Stop. Stop the nonsense. Focus on something a little more important in your life other than a 15-minute musical performance for a sporting event. Please, save us. Don't forget, you can always get us on the YouTube channel. Go to the Fastest Show in Sports. Subscribe. Make sure you're there, catch everything. You can also send us any sort of bon mots, if you'd like, on my social media channels, on Instagram, on X, on Facebook, and on TikTok, where I am, at Berliner Speaks. Also, I write every now and then on Substack at Ed Berliner. And don't forget the audio podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, on all the major platforms. Just look for the fastest show in sports. For everybody here, thanks for joining us, my friends. We'll see you again next time. I'm Ed Berliner. Rock on, true believers. See ya.
Ed Berliner, the fastest show in sports.